Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. Today we're doing a movie review. It's been a while since we've done one of those. I almost said box office breakdown or preview, and that will have to wait until later. But I got to see Godzilla Minus One last night in IMAX for a fan preview event. The film is opening up wide tonight, and then, of course, having its much broader release tomorrow with a plethora of more screen times. And hopefully the film is playing in IMAX near you. I know that there are other films, including the upcoming Beyonce movie, that is fortunately going to be getting some of these IMAX screenings. But if you have a chance to see this film in IMAX, I would say take advantage of the big screen, take advantage of especially the big sound, because this is a movie not only that you should go watch in theaters, but also that you should watch on the biggest screen possible, because this movie is just fantastic. I'm just going to jump straight to it. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Before going further, though, with my thoughts, please make sure you smash that like button, light that button, honestly, smash the rumble button as well. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel with that bell notification. That way, you know every time the video or live stream goes live on the channel. My mouth is all jumbled. My words are all jumbled. I'm just waking up. I was wanting to record something last night, but people were sleeping here at home, and so I was not able to feasibly do that. But, let's just talk about the good things about this movie first. First, I want to give a huge shout out to Takashi Yamazaki, I think is his name, the director and the writer of this film. He apparently also was the one supervising all of the visual effects. For a film that only cost $15 million, that's right, a Godzilla film with a full-featured Godzilla only cost $15 million. These visual effects looked pretty fantastic. Now, that does not mean that they looked perfect. There are definitely a couple of moments where I thought the motion of the character, the way in which the character was designed, did not look very good, did not look very natural, especially when he is the character of Godzilla is moving very slowly because he's very large, but then can somehow at random times move very, very quickly. Kind of goes against just the way in which he's designed. So I had an issue with that. Luckily, that was very, very few and far between as far as moments when that happened. There's also a couple of green screen CG elements as well that I thought didn't work very well. There was one where he was attacking one of these ships, and on the ship you had these people falling, and they would keep cutting back from Godzilla in a wide shot of the ship to a close-up, and you could just tell that it wasn't the same event. It was like chaos, 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 fire, etc., and then, a clean ship with people having to fall off of them. So you did have moments like that throughout the film, but the fact that the film costs $15 million makes me a lot more willing to forgive moments like that, because you are working with what you actually have available to you. And the strength of this movie isn't even really necessarily the visual effects. It isn't really necessarily the design of Godzilla, though I think that those are really good, especially in comparison to the monsterverse films. And that, I think, is one of the things that I kind of want to start off with as well in the beginning of this review, which is that this is a Godzilla movie, right? I grew up watching Godzilla on TV, and I would watch, and I didn't know at the time because I was a kid, but I would watch the English dubbed versions, right? So I would look at it and I would hear English, but I always thought that there was this weird disconnect, and as a kid, I couldn't quite understand what that was. Of course, later in life, I realized, it's because I was listening to English people talk when it was actually Japanese actors that were on screen. So I have, a connection to the original Godzilla and to many of the original Godzilla movies, right? A lot of the Godzilla versus films, for instance, I remember watching. And the one thing I really have to say is when you look at the monsterverse films from Legendary, those movies just do not feel like Godzilla films, right? They feel like, okay, the studio got a bunch of money to take the IP of Godzilla and take and do a bunch of things with it and make a lot of choices that to some might seem like Godzilla, but it just doesn't have the feel. This movie, Godzilla Minus One, feels like a Godzilla film. Not only does the screenplay borrow from the 1954 film and a couple of other releases in the history of Godzilla, but it just has that authentic feel to it. And one of the best moments to me is towards the end of the movie where, and you have hints of this throughout the movie, where the original score comes into play. In fact, it came in at one point where things are going down and the score, the original Godzilla score, comes into play, and I could just look around and I saw everyone in my theater was essentially just nodding their head, right, rocking along with the music, which is kind of amazing when you think about just a score, let alone a classic movie score like this, where people are going to react in that way. And that's how I could tell, especially the applause at the end of the film, that the people there, not only were they fans of Godzilla, not only were they wanting to see a Godzilla film, but they got it. And I don't think that's something that the Legendary films have been doing. I've been very, very critical of the quote-unquote monsterverse movies. I just don't think they've been very good. I think the CGI has been overused. This is a movie that I think shows you how it's done. Like, for me, it's like, look, take all the money you're wasting in the Legendary universe and give it to Toho, right? Kudos to Toho, kudos to Takashi Yamazaki for being able to not only do so much with so little as far as budget is concerned, but also to give you an authentic Godzilla experience. So if you've been someone kind of waiting for Godzilla, waiting for an actual Godzilla film to release, maybe you have not been a huge fan of the MonsterVerse films, or maybe you have been, but you even have some criticisms because you're like, yeah, I still enjoy it because I like seeing Godzilla, even if he is just this giant CGI beast that's overused, tear things up on screen, but you're like, the heart of it may not be there. This has the heart. This has the heart of Godzilla. This has the focus that I think so many of those other movies are missing. A big part of that also is just the time frame, right? This movie takes place in post-World War II Japan, so you have not only that atmosphere where you have these buildings that have already been destroyed from bombings, from nuclear war. You also have, of course, the main character of the film who plays a pilot, a disgraced pilot in the Japanese military, and you get to know a bit more about his story and kind of the redemptive arc that his story takes over the course of the movie. You also have these really great supporting characters. I think my favorite moment in the film is he's on the ship and he's got these supporting characters. One is called Doc, and just the interactions they have with each other, the facial reactions just had me laughing and had the audience laughing too, where it's like, no, these are characters that are so well crafted and so well acted that you just care about them and you want to see them succeed. You also just like seeing them on screen. It's one of those things where you just actually like seeing them talk with one another. Now, that is also one of the criticisms that I have of the film, is that there are moments where this film definitely drags a bit. This is a 2 hour and 5 minute movie. It only needed to be about an hour and 45. They could have probably cut off at least 20 minutes and this film would have felt that much better. Even with that criticism though, right? Even with the moments where the CGI or the moments where the visual effects at the very least did not look all that good or didn't match up all that well, and even though that does have some long moments, this film is still absolutely fantastic. This film, I think, is one of the best movies that I have seen this year. It's by far the best Godzilla film. I would say I have not seen a good Godzilla film since the 2014 Godzilla, and I know that obviously that even has some mixed reactions to it as well, but I think that if you're looking for something that's going to get close to, and I have not seen Shin Godzilla, I've heard a lot of people say good things about that. If you're looking for something, though, that is going to capture the heart of what Godzilla is and is going to be able to give you a darn good time, an entertaining time, this is the movie for you. Highly recommend it. As you can see, my score over on Critic List was an 80%, a most excellent score because this is a most excellent film. So make sure you check out my full review over on Critic List where I go into a little bit more detail as well as far as some of my general thoughts on the film. I also, of course, throw the MonsterVerse films under the bus because I just really don't like those movies because they focus on the human story so much and the human story sucks in those movies. This film has, of course, focused on the human story, but the human story is amazing, right? You have this great story of redemption. You have this great story of honor, right? This is also especially, you could tell this is a Japanese film, right? With Toho and the Japanese director and everything like it, because you have this huge focus on honor and having to lose one's honor to be able to then regain one's honor down the road. The concept of sacrifice is also in this movie, and those are the things that you want to see, right? If you're going to have a human story attached to a Godzilla film, it's got to be compelling in some way. And the acting, especially, right? Not only do you have really great writing when it comes to those characters, the acting of those characters, the acting, that you see throughout the film is also very, very good. It just reminds me, it had these throwbacks, even from the very beginning with the Toho logo coming up on screen. All I could think about was, man, this just feels like a classic Japanese film. And as someone who's a pretty big fan of a lot of Japanese films, the ones that I have seen, like classic Japanese films, it was kind of a good throwback in that way, while at the same time using modern technology and having a little bit more of a modern feel to it as far as using 2023 technology to its advantage. So overall, I give this film, again, a most excellent score. If I had to give this a letter grade, as I typically do, I would give this film an A-, right? It's not exactly a perfect film. There are definitely some things that I had some issues with, especially with some of the design choices on Godzilla, the way at least the motion of Godzilla worked, especially in the beginning when you first get introduced to him pretty early on, and over the course of the movie. But all that being said, I thought this was great. And if you are looking for a Godzilla film and you want to have that experience that is similar to that of the original 1954 film and to some of the other more classic Godzilla films, I think that this is absolutely the movie for you. But those are my thoughts on the movie. Have you seen Godzilla Minus One? Do you plan on seeing it? Please go see it. This is a movie, unfortunately, that right now is only projected to get in the single digits for its opening weekend domestically. So if you're in the United States especially, go watch this movie, right? Don't let this be film 8.1 million that loses to the second weekend of Wish, that is far behind Napoleon, that is far behind Hunger Games, that is going to be decimated by Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, right? Let this be a movie that we kind of corral against because we say these are the kinds of movies that we want. We want films that are able to pay respect to the source material, pay respect to the fans, and also be a darn good time as well. So I recommend, again, I'm going to get on my high horse here, go see this movie. It is absolutely fantastic. And also make sure you check out Criticless as well, so that way you can leave your own review of the film, because I think that right now with about 2 reviews, it obviously has not been released yet as far as the making of this video. So go ahead and watch it. Leave a review on Criticless, because let's get this audience score. Right now it's a rad. The only other person that's seen it also really liked it a lot. And anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members for the month of November, starting off with Father Luca Illich, Rosetta Allen, check out her YouTube channel, the name Eagle Rider. Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel by the same name. Matt317, check out his Twitch channel. Laura, the Mother Major General Story. Sorry, I didn't have enough spirit fingers there. Mr. Roy and ZK Man, who can check out over at xtheboundaries.co. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below. You get access to things like the giveaways channel, a podcast that I try to do every single month with a bunch of other awesome YouTubers, and a plethora of other content. So go ahead and check that out if you want more. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.